Okay, yesterday we started talking about Bedikas Chametz, and we explained that basically it's rabbinic, and the Chametz said because we have Chametz a whole year, so people are accustomed to eating Chametz, so therefore we have to do Bedikas Chametz to make sure there's no Chametz left anywhere in the house. So therefore, those places that you bring Chametz into during the year, you need to do Bedikas Chametz. Okay, those places you don't bring Chametz into during the year, you don't need to do Bedikas Chametz. Or another thing, places that you don't need to do Bedikas Chametz, and this is a big argument in halacha, but we've discussed it a little bit in the past, and that is those rooms that I'm going to be selling to the guy. Do I have to do Bedikas Chametz in those rooms or not? So there are opinions in halacha that say yes, you need to do Bedikas Chametz because at night of Bedikas Chametz you didn't sell the Chametz yet. The Chametz is being sold the next morning. When Bedikas Chametz happens the night before, basically it's your Chametz. You still would have to do Bedikas Chametz. But the Tzemach Tzedek holds, and that's the way the minig b'chlal, the post can bring down the minig is that people that are those places that you're selling to the guy, you don't need to do Bedikas Chametz. So let's say for argument's sake, somebody is going to not go into his business a whole Pesach, all 8 days, and he's not going into the business. And he doesn't want to bother with Bedikas Chametz. He just wants to sell the business and that's it. And that, though, then he could. He doesn't have to do Bedikas Chametz because he's selling it, and he's not going to be in the business for the whole 9 days, 8 weeks, whatever. So then you wouldn't have to do Bedikas Chametz. Now, Bedikas Chametz has to be done after the room is cleaned. Okay, now, the proper time for Bedikas Chametz is the night of Bedikas Chametz. That's when you can make a bracha, which this year, Thursday night before Pesach. Pesach is Friday night. So Thursday night is the time to make Bedikas Chametz. That's the only time you can make a bracha on Bedikas Chametz, practically speaking. So what happens if somebody is going away 3 days before Pesach? They're going away 3 days before Pesach. What do they do with Bedikas Chametz? So the din is that the night before you leave, let's say you leave Monday afternoon, okay? Sunday night, you have to go take one room of the house because you have an obligation to do a Bedikas Chametz. Once you leave your place within 30 days of Pesach, you have an obligation to do Bedikas Chametz. If you will leave before Purim, you're going away for 2 months, you don't have to do Bedikas Chametz. Once 30 days, meaning Purim and onward, once 30 days of Pesach comes, you have an obligation to do Bedikas Chametz. There's an obligation on the person to do Bedikas Chametz. So let's say they're leaving out of town Monday. So then, Sunday night, without a bracha, you take the candle or the flashlight, whatever, and you do Bedikas Chametz in one room. The cleanest room you take, the easiest room to clean up, and you do Bedikas Chametz without a bracha. I strongly suggest you don't put out 10 pieces of bread at that time. If you're doing Bedikas Chametz earlier and you're traveling somewhere, you shouldn't put out 10 pieces of Chametz. Why? Because I had a few cases already, not one, a few cases, that people did that, and they were traveling and they were hoping to burn the Chametz out of Pesach in the morning, and they forgot all about it, and they opened their suitcases in the middle of Pesach, and they had 10 pieces of bread. It's factual. They forgot to do it because you're out of town, you get busy, you're not making Pesach, you're going wherever. So therefore, you don't have to put out 10 pieces of bread. In fact, this that we put out 10 pieces of bread is not halachically mandatory. People think that the reason why you put out 10 pieces of bread is because the house is very clean. What chametz are you going to find? What chametz are you going to burn? So how can you make a bracha to do bir chametz, meaning to get rid of the chametz, if you're not going to find anything? So Alter Rebbe says it's not true, Because the mitzvah is to search for chametz. The mitzvah is not to find chametz. The mitzvah is to search for chametz.
So if you're searching...
One thing, so why is the minhag to put out 10 pieces of bread? So one of the reasons is that you'll have what to burn. Out of Pesach, you'll have what to burn. Why 10 pieces of bread? Why 10 pieces of bread? So it's interesting. In the Gemara, this is the reason al pi nigla, al pi halacha. Why do you put out 10? Then 2 pieces of bread should be enough. 1 piece of bread should be enough. Why do you put out 10 pieces of bread? Because in the Gemara, whenever the Gemara speaks about you had 10 pieces of bread and then you found 9, or you had 9 pieces of bread and you found 10. There's a few pages of the Gemara. You see a mouse takes the chametz and this. Is it the same mouse, the same bread? A white mouse goes in, a black mouse goes out. Is it the same mouse? Is it the same bread? A whole discussion in the Gemara. Okay? So, but Gemara always uses the expression Heniach asarav umatzates. The Gemara speaks about 10. Api Chassidus in Kabbalah, the reason why you put out 10 pieces of bread, because B'dikas Chametz is not only the physical searching for Chametz. B'dikas Chametz is searching the internal Chametz that we have within us. There were many tzaddikim, including the Alter Rebbe, that he had one little room and he spent the whole night doing B'dikas Chametz. He could have built the room in that time, you know. Why? Because the B'dikas Chametz by tzaddikim was they were searching internal in all 10 powers of the soul, 10 levels. So that's why you put out 10 pieces of bread according to Kabbalah, because you have the 10 levels of the soul that you need to be refined and purified. So that's but the mitzvah, Alter Rebbe said, and this interest, Alter Rebbe says, Minig Yisrael Teirehi, and therefore you put it out. Even though there's halachically there's no reason why you have to, but Alter Rebbe said, Minig Yisrael Teirehi, this is the minig, and this is what you do.
Can't you put it out and not burn it?
No, there's an inyan of burning chametz.
I know, but if you're going to another place, can't you put it out and not burn it?
So what are you doing with it? You sell with the chametz, you mean?
Yeah. Because then you're missing out on this whole thing. I'll pick Kabbalah, I'll pick this.
I pick up all search inside those 10 pieces of bread. And no, really, I mean.
Rabbi, you told me that I can do the psikha over there. I don't.
Oh, 1 second. So that's if somebody's leaving Monday afternoon, they have to do B'dikas Chametz the night before in one room. Or there's another option. If you're going to be Thursday night, let's say you're going from here to Florida. He's going from here to Florida, yeah? So he's going Monday, let's say. So Monday, Tuesday, he's going to rent Airbnb. That's their case. Yeah, they're going to be renting an Airbnb. So when Thursday night comes, he's going to be renting a house. So then he has an obligation Thursday night to do B'dikas Chametz in the house where you're going to. So therefore, because the house here he's selling, and an obligation of B'dikas Chametz will have there Thursday night wherever he goes to. So then you don't have to do B'dikas Chametz in your house because the obligation, and over there you can put out 10 pieces of bread, you can make a bracha, then you could do the whole thing. Or what happens is another eitzah. What happens if you're going to your in-laws, outlaws, kids, whatever, and you want to do B'dikas Chametz with the bracha, but it's your kid's home, it's not your home. So you're going to your parents, it's your parents' home, it's not your kid's home, it's not yours. So what they would do is, if you want to do B'dikas Chametz with a bracha, before the night of the 14th, you rent the room that you're staying in. So you're staying by your parents, you give your father $1 on Wednesday or so, whatever, and you say, I'm renting the room that I'm staying in. Now it's your rental before the time of B'dikas Chametz. So because it's your room that you're renting, then you can do B'dikas Chametz Thursday night with the bracha. Otherwise, if you don't rent the room from them, it's their obligation. It's your father's obligation. It's not your obligation. You can't make a bracha on somebody else's obligation. He makes his own bracha. But if you rent the room from them, from your parents, from your kids, whoever, you rent the room, and therefore somebody's going to a hotel, let's say, if they get there before Thursday night, and you're renting the hotel room, you could do B'dikas Chametz in the hotel room with 10 pieces of bread, and you make sure you burn them the next day.
Say 10 pieces.
Then you put out the 10 pieces of bread. The reason why I suggest this strongly not to put out the 10 pieces of bread if you're traveling somewhere and you're doing it before you leave, like I said, because people forget, and I got calls Erev Pesach that they found the 10 pieces, not Erev Pesach, in the middle of Pesach they called. In the middle of Pesach they opened the suitcase and they found the 10 pieces of bread that they took to burn. And they forgot all about it.
So you call Chamir?
What? It's a Kazayas Chametz. Because when you put out the 10 pieces of bread, one second. When you put out the 10 pieces of bread, each piece, halachically, should be less than an ounce. Altogether, it should be an ounce or more. Why should each piece be less than an ounce? Because what happens, Taki, you put down 10 pieces of bread and you only find 9. So what are you going to do? Yeah, but if you keep looking, so what's the din? If it's less than a kazayas, if that piece that's missing is less than a kazayas, then automatically it's part of bittul. You're nullifying the chametz. So then you don't have to go crazy finding it. But if you put down 10 big pieces of bread, then you have to go search.
So when you check your car, there's probably no reason to put pieces of bread in.
No. You do it in the house.
No, I'm saying, but you said you have to do, yesterday you have to do b'dikas chametz in the car.
Right.
So,
But not every place you do b'dikas chametz, you put out 10 pieces of bread. One time, in one...
you literally just take a flashlight or a candle, whatever, you just go in your car.
You take a car, you do a flashlight. Underneath the beds, you don't take candles. Next to the drapes, you don't use candles. You don't, nicht gedacht. You know how many houses burnt down b'dikas chametz night because kids were going around with the candles? I remember as a kid, it was a family in Chicago with 8, 9 kids. One of the kids was going b'dikas chametz night and the whole thing caught onto the curtain. And the whole house burned down. It was remarkable in Chicago. People took him in for the family, a film family with like 10 people. No place to, nothing. The house burned down. Nothing. People took him. Yeah, it happens in LA also a bunch of times.
Rabbi, bottom line, if you travel, is it better to do the b'dikas chametz at home or at the hotel?
If you're going to be at the hotel, you could do it in the hotel.
Rabbi, if you find
Then you can make a bracha Thursday night.
so if you find the 10 pieces middle of Pesach, you don't want it. So what do you do with it? You don't
No, we'll discuss what happens if somebody finds chametz during Pesach, what to do. It's different today than what it says in halacha, because today it's all included in the sale.
Just ignore.
No, you have to, if it's not Yom Tif, you take it and put it away with the chametz. If it's Yom Tif, you have to cover it with it. We'll discuss. Okay, stop it.